I have the time as 7:36, and I will call the public hearing and regular business meeting of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, November 28th, 2022 to order. We do have a quorum. We have all our council members present. And before I call up Chaplain Jackie Turner for the invocation, I would like to ask everyone to observe a moment of silence. We had a longtime council member, Wayne Odom, who served on the city council for over 30 years, passed away about a week and a half ago. So if we could just observe a moment of silence for Mr. Odom. Thank you. And now I would like to call on Chaplain Jackie Turner to come forward and give us the invocation.
Yeah, I think the last time I was that way. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Indeed, there's much for us to be thankful for. Let us pray. Almighty God, unto whom all hearts are open, all desires known, and from whom no secret is hidden, make each of us an instrument of your grace as we come together, make our common petitions unto you, knowing that where two or three are gathered in your name, you are in the midst. Lord, weave us into a community of love, showing forth power and tenderness. Gather us in your love and guide us on this journey. Help us, God, to make sound decisions to bless our community. Bless us in our differences and undergird our courage to stand together to make wise decisions for the good of the whole. Keep us in your perfect peace as we reason together. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Turner. And now, if you will stand for the pledge to the flag. Okay, we have no ceremonial matters, so we will move on to the minutes of the meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of the November 14th meeting, and I think there's one other in there. Hang on a minute. Yeah, November 14th meetings.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
So motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none. 5 in favor. Any opposed? So we have an abstention. Okay. We have no invited guests or committee or department reports, so we'll move to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda, November 28th, 2022.
There's a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
So motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. It is 6 in favor with none opposed. And now we will move on to our public hearing. As a public hearing, I do have some instructions I'd just like to read. And this applies for all our public hearing items that are on the agenda tonight. In order to help everyone have an equal opportunity to be heard and minimize distractions, I ask the audience to please silence or turn off any electronic communication devices. I would like to remind everyone present that this is an official public meeting at which important business is conducted. The city attorney has advised the council that audience outbursts, including applause, have been used by the courts to overturn zoning decisions. Therefore, I ask that you refrain from applause and all other extraneous remarks. Each side will be allowed a total of 15 minutes for support and 15 minutes in opposition. This is not per person, but total. So you may wish to consider coordinating your arguments beforehand or consider having a spokesperson present your position. If council members ask questions of you, it will not be deducted from your time. Should you have the opportunity to come to the microphone to make a comment in support or in opposition to any of the requests before us, please state your name and address for the public record before beginning. Also direct all of your comments to myself and the council and not to the applicant or another speaker. With that, we will move on to item A, second reading, RZ 22-08. It's consideration and action on application by Lazaro Moda, the applicant, and Britt and Camp LLC, the property owner, requesting to amend the official zoning map from RS 30, Single Family Residential District, to RS 5, Single Family Residential District, for an 11-lot, single-family detached residential subdivision on a 2.765 plus or minus acre site having a gross density of 3.978 units per acre, located at 2706 Lenore Church Road, Snellville, Georgia, and that is tax parcel 5028001. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council and public, for being here tonight. Just go over the metrics of the case real quick. Rezoning 22-08. I think this is the third time we've seen this project or some reiteration of it. Just everybody should be pretty familiar. It's 2706 Lenore Church Road. Again, it's too closely 2.765 acres. This is requested a zoning change from RS 30 to RS 5, which are RS 30,000 square feet and RS 5,000 square feet for reference. It's currently demarcated as low density residential on the future land use map. Again, it'll be 11 lot single family detached development that you see here. This is the library park to the rear, and then the preserve at Briscoe over here with their detention pond. You can see the 11 lots are laid out with some open space in the front, and this plan shows some additional plantings in front of the detention pond facing Lenora Church Road. The zoning classification does match the current future land use plan low density residential designation, so it does meet the requirements or mesh with the requirements of the comprehensive plan and the future land use map. And for those reasons, we've recommended as a staff approval with 4 standard conditions as shown in your ordinance. Be happy to answer any questions.
Do any council members have any questions of Mr. Thompson?
Just to reiterate the actual rezoning, RS 30 to an RS 5
Correct.
is a low density to a low density, or is that a low density to a medium density?
Medium density is described as anything from 4 to 8 units per acre. So it is a low density to a lower low density to a higher low density, but anything between 0 and 4 units per acre is classified as residential low density, single family.
Okay, so it's a slightly higher use in terms of the density.
You could say there are more homes there, so
Okay.
I mean, by definition, there's more, so you could say more intense, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Than RS 30, yes.
Any other questions of council?
Mr. Thompson, I wanted to clarify, first of all, the width of the street is 27 feet, that's correct?
27, 30 to 30 curb to curb.
30 curb to
30
curb.
from back of curb to back of curb.
And then one of the conditions is that the driveway should be a minimum of 22 feet in length and shall accommodate the parking of 2 vehicles. Is that 2 vehicles for the entire length of the driveway? Or
I don't think we dictate driveway width at the beginning. Typically, the width has to encompass a 2-car garage. So when it's at the end, it has to be, I think it's 12 and 12 but no, you don't carry that all the way out to the road most of the time. They would just need to provide the garage. It just depends on them. We don't regulate that. The entire width. The width would need to be wide enough for the two-car garages. Typically, they bring them all the way back. It just makes more sense instead of trying to taper on a smaller lot.
Okay.
And I just wanted to speak on that condition too. That 22 feet is kind of a relic of the old, before we had the UDO made that for every development. So that part of it isn't necessarily needed on there. It's already in the code, but I thought it was important to make everyone know what the expectation was as far as the length, since that's been a problem before.
That 22 feet is from the garage to the back of the curb, back being
No,
toward
the
the house?
sidewalk.
To the
Back of the
sidewalk.
sidewalk. So that was the issue, is you're parking those cars and you can't walk. And it's not good. So we fixed that in the UDO. You guys helped.
That's actually in the UDO now for any new lots. Any other questions by counsel of Mr. Thompson?
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. So now I will ask the applicant to come forward.
Good evening. Thank you. Mitch Peavy, 4525 South Lee Street in Beaufort. And yes, you're seeing deja vu as you have gotten the opportunity to come to know this property very well. So we're tired of it too, to be honest with you. So, but we have listened to you. We did from the last meeting. We had the conversations with the council was expressing concerns about the detention pond being along the frontage, and this was that plan. And some of the lots didn't meet the criteria as well. We've adjusted that and made sure that everything, the I's are dotted, T's are crossed on this plan. But this is the older plan, and what we looked at was these numbers in the corners, that's the elevation. So you got 988 in this corner, 990 here. So the back of this property is high. Along Lenora Church, you've got 974 in this corner, 964 in this corner. This is where Mother Nature tells us where this detention pond has to go. We can't buck grade. There is, and I'll show, this is the new plan. There is also on this corner here, there is a drainage easement from the neighboring subdivision, in that their detention pond is located there. And so to get to the piping under the street, they had to have an easement across our property to get to that. So again, this is where God and Mother Nature got together and said, this is the low point, this is where it has to go. Now, one thing we're doing, you had to have 20% open space. We got about 21% open space on this project, and we've got it along the frontage. You've been by there many times, I'm sure all of you have on a regular basis now. There's very little tree coverage or anything along this frontage. The whole property is fairly barren. We need to beef up that. We can't sell $550,000 plus homes with not having any type of screening onto Lenora Church Road. So we are going to be putting in some plantings and making it nice, again, for the level you're talking about. We showed it here that we will screen this. The other detention pond located here, there is a lot of stuff there. So if you're headed away from Snellville, you're not really going to have a view into it from here. And then it's going to be owned, controlled, and maintained by the HOA. Mr. Ross said, you know, he's got some extra conditions on there that I heard at the work session. We are perfectly fine with those. That's what we intend to do. But again, with the open space here, you're going to have a mandatory HOA no matter what, that they have to keep and maintain that. And you got to feel like that they will do that, because that is somewhat an extended backyard for these folks along there, although they're going to want to get that beefed up enough to where it'll help diffuse some of the road noise and everything else. Again, if I'm paying $500,000 plus for a house, I want to diffuse some road noise. I don't want to sit back there and count tractor trailers going by or something. So that's just a given as far as what we're looking to do. Again, we meet the land use plan. We think it's a good product. It's going to be in a pretty cool little area right here at the park. They can get to that. You've got the library right next door. We did keep a sidewalk access point here, just because the area being in the park area, we just thought that would be a neat little feature. If you don't want that, tell us and we will take it off. As far as the driveways go, we will have it where you will have a room enough to park 2 Ford F-150 extended cabs and keep them out of the the way of the sidewalks. Every house will have a minimum 2-car garage, so there'll be parking available for 4 cars on the lot itself. Kind of short and sweet. I'll be happy to answer any additional questions. Again, you saw that Jason showed the farmhouse look as far as the houses go. That's the end product right now, and so that's what they're looking to go here. When they started this, actually, back in July when we first came up, they were building on the outside, and these same houses, they had worked them up into the 600,000. We're not sure right now. Interest rates are having a fun time right now, and so don't know how far they can pump it, but their goal is to pump them up, and that's what they're used to doing. So get there early. The first person might get one at $550 before they go up in price. So again, pretty straightforward. We agree with all the other staff conditions and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Peavy. Are there any questions for Mr. Peavy of the council?
What do you plan to do with the detention pond in terms of fencing?
It will be fenced, and then we will screen that fence.
Okay.
And we black vinyl chain loaded, it kind of becomes a shadow and disappears. If you prefer to have the aluminum wrought iron look, we'll be happy to do that. It's not that big of a deal. But again, we're going to be trying to screen that so it's not going to necessarily be visible. So the black vinyl kind of disappears.
Okay, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about the front area because there's not a lot of room between the street and where the detention pond starts. You're showing basically 2 rows of trees. And I'm just not sure that's going to screen it.
It should, being a low point there. I mean, if you put in what I have found lately is, that worked at my house when they were putting in the pool, and we put in some of the holly trees. Can't remember that specific name of them, but they have gone friggin' crazy berserk, and nobody will walk between those or get near them or tear them up or anything, because they'll tear you up first. And don't ask me how I know that.
Yeah.
Mr. Peavy, have you seen the condition that Mr. Ross has recommended? And you're
Absolutely.
in agreement with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other council members with question?
Yeah, Mr. Peavy, do you offhand know the distance between where you're showing the street entering Lenore Church and from that to the next access point down where Marigold Drive comes off?
Here back to here.
Nope, the other direction.
I do not know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just concerned about whether or not Gwinnett DOT will approve access at that point. I would assume they would, but
Access at what point?
where they're showing the street coming
Oh.
off of Lenore Church, if it's too close, they'll have an issue.
Well, that'll be a Gwinnett DOT issue.
You're talking
No,
here?
the next one down, it's shaded right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right there on the other side of the
Yeah.
library.
Okay, we had one change on us here recently. I'm just popped into my little brain.
And everything is site distance and per DOT. That's just a
Right.
safety issue that we have to comply with.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's got a divided median there too on Lenore Church.
Correct.
Any other questions of the council for Mr. Peavy? Mr. Peavy, thank you.
Mr. Peavy, you have 10 minutes left for rebuttal.
Okay, so this is a public hearing, so we will open the floor to public comment on this rezoning case. If you would like to come forward and speak on this rezoning, you may step forward and give your name and address for the record.
Tricia Rollins, 2088 Harbor Oaks Drive. I think this is an excellent fit for that area. It seems like it will be an upgrade to what is already built on that road. I wish I had 2 rows of buffer between me and the shopping center. This is a family that's been raised here in Snellville. They're not going to put anything disrespectful in there. It's going to be something that we can be proud of, and the children that will be in the subdivision can go to the park right there. $500,000 houses on that road. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rollins. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no other people that would like to comment in the public hearing, I will close the floor for public comment. Mr. Peavy, I don't know if you want to come back up and say anything more?
All right, Mayor Bender and council members Matt Reeves, Anderson Tate and Carr, 1 Sugarloaf Center, 1960 Satellite Boulevard, Duluth, Georgia. To follow up on what Mr. Peavy presented, the planning staff and planning commission have recommended approval. Alliance Engineering drew this plan, and Axis drew the last plan, so there has been more study and analysis put in. As Mr. Peavy mentioned, there was more buffering between the road and the detention pond. The neighborhood next door, Preserve at Briscoe Park, has 80 to 100 homes. It has a lot of homes and needs a lot of detention. This home only has 11 lots, so the detention pond is going to be a lot smaller than the one next door, which is uphill and at street grade. Also, as the site plan showed, the detention pond is in the cul-de-sac, so it's the last thing you get to in the neighborhood, whereas next door at Preserve at Briscoe, the detention pond's at the front quarter of the neighborhood, so 3/4 of the people pass by it every day. So this is going to be not all that visible within the neighborhood or as you drive by on Lenore Church Road. It's been re-engineered, it's been buffered. You heard about the fencing also. And we have a lot of people here in favor, in addition to the gentlewoman who spoke. Raise your hand if you're here in favor of this zoning. A lot of people
Sir, we can't do polls here.
Well,
Thank you.
I did want to note a lot of people who care a lot about Snellville favor this zoning, and I would like to note, in addition to planning staff and planning commission recommended approval, no one has come in opposition to it, and that says a lot. So Britton Camp has worked hard with your staff. They've worked hard with their engineers. They've paid careful attention to that detention pond. This gives a new product in this area, that farmhouse, modern farmhouse style, which you go to Forsyth County and Cherokee County, there are a ton of them there. Here in Gwinnett, there are a few, but that's something that's going to really have a premium here in Snellville, to have a smaller neighborhood at a good area with a new architectural style. It's something that is valuable and adds a lot. As Mr. Ross mentioned in the work session, we did submit constitutional objections for legal purposes. I do have a court reporter here. Britton Camp is not looking for a fight. They've worked hard on the engineering, worked hard hand in hand with the city. We respectfully request approval to add a nice new small owner-occupied neighborhood here in Snellville. The city attorney thought of some conditions about the detention pond, which we reviewed, and as you heard a minute ago, we agree to those. So for all those reasons, we would ask you to approve the planning staff and planning commission conditions with the 2 more from the city attorney about the detention pond, and we're glad to answer any additional questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you.
Council, is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I would make the motion to approve RZ 22-08, consideration and action on application by Lazaro Mata, applicant in Britton Camp LLC, with the conditions that came out of the planning department and the planning commission meeting, 1 through 8, with the addition of conditions 9 and 10, which shall read, number 9, all parcels shall be subject to a mandatory HOA. HOA must provide for special assessments to be imposed upon its members for capital expenditures, specifically including maintenance of any detention, retention, water quality structures, ponds. And then number 10, HOA must enter into a maintenance agreement with the city that it is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of any detention, retention, water quality structures / ponds In the event that the HOA fails to repair such structure, the city will have the authority but not the responsibility to make the necessary repairs, and the HOA will reimburse the city for such expenditures. If the HOA does not have adequate funds on hand to reimburse the city, the HOA shall assess its members for the full amount of the repairs so as to reimburse the city. Madam Mayor, that is my motion.
There is a motion, and if you will give me just a second, Mr. Warner, you specified that there were conditions 1 through 8.
Oh, did we remove one of those in,
But
because?
the ordinance draft was showing 1 through 7.
Oh, I'm sorry, I actually worked off the report from the Planning Commission.
But we need to just figure out which one's different and make
Okay,
sure.
well, that would be a good idea.
Yep,
Madam Mayor, I could shed some light on that, I believe.
certainly, Mr. Weaves.
Mayor Bender, I believe the one that's missing is original number 7. A densely planted landscape buffer shall be provided between the stormwater detention facility and southern property boundary where adjacent to the Lenora Church Road public right-of-way is shown on the 8/15/22 site plan. That one somehow between the staff report and the draft ordinance came out, and that's agreeable to the applicant.
To leave that in.
Correct.
Okay,
So
Yep.
the original 8 that are in the staff report are agreeable to the applicant. 9 and 10, as read by Mr. Warner, are also agreeable to the applicant.
okay, very good.
So, Madam Mayor, I would prefer that my motion stand as made.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. So there is a motion to approve with 10 conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion by council members? No, then I will call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor. Any opposed? 1 opposed. The rezoning has passed. And now we'll move to item B, second reading UDO 22-02, consideration and action on a text amendment to section 207-6, signs of Article 7 of Chapter 200, zoning and land use of the Unified Development Ordinance for the city of Snellville, Georgia. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Tonight we have a UDO amendment that deals with signage. I believe we had 26 items, most that deal with trying to reduce ambiguity, provide clarification, and help further the purpose of the UDO. So it's just some house cleaning. But one of the additional changes is a little more relevant is a new section, 207-6.12. That is being requested to be amended to allow for a master signage plan to be submitted in the form of an SUP for certain districts and land parcels within the Grove, and there's some qualifications in there as far as acreage. And basically what this allows is for the entire development to be signed in a uniform way, and a way that provides the city council and the city a chance to review separate signage that may not be covered in our code that may be appropriate for the town center area, that may not be appropriate within other commercial or residential areas. So we ask that you approve this text amendment to the sign ordinance. Any questions?
Any questions of the council for Mr. Thompson? Nope. And we are the applicant, right? Are we? So there is no applicant?
There's none.
But this is a public hearing, so I will open the floor to public comment on UDO 22-02 for the sign ordinance updates. If anyone would like to speak for or against this, UDO update, then please step forward and give your name and address for the record. Seeing no one rushing for the microphone, then I will close the public comment and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve UDO 22-02.
There is a motion to approve UDO 22-02. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any comment by council? Then I will ask for your vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor, so none opposed. Now we have item C, second reading MSP 22-01, consideration and action on a master signage plan for the Grove at Town Center, a master planned mixed-use development on a .3 plus or minus acre site near the intersections of Oak Road, Clower Street, Wisteria Drive, and North Road, Snellville, Georgia.
Thank you, and just like that, we have our first application for a master signage plan at the Grove at Town Center. This covers this signage plan. If you've looked over, it's about 30 pages. It identifies every sign that's going to be allowed, sign types from business tenants, and also clarifies and allows for some of the signs that we don't have in our sign code, like the Grove sign, blade style signs, and larger artwork / signage that you wouldn't have in a small like shopping center. It would be just another way to promote the town center, and tastefully done, in my opinion. Is something that has been worked on between the city and the developer, and have all come together to make this the best plan we can anticipate. And we ask that you approve this SUP MSP 22-01.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Are there any questions of the council members for Mr. Thompson? And again, we are the applicant on this, so, we're not the applicant, but the applicant is not here. Is the applicant here for this?
Yeah, I can represent them, but they're in
Okay.
100% support.
This has been a plan that has been being kicked around for probably a year. At least, with all the signage for the town center. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve MSP 22-01.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second on the table. Any discussion by council? Oh. I did not call for public comment. Why didn't you kick me? Did I ask for a public comment?
So you can do public.
Oh, yes. So, I will call now for public comment. Skipped right over that one. I'm blaming it on the city attorney who didn't kick me. So I will open the floor to any public comment. If anyone would like to state for any comments for or against this master sign plan, please step forward. Okay, no one's rushing, so I will close the public comment. And we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion to approve with a second. Any discussion by council? We went through that. No discussion by council, so I'll call the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed. Sorry, y'all, I got a little off track on that one. All right, so now we will move on to item D. We'll see if we can follow this one a little better. Second reading, SUP 22-05, consideration and action on application by 2338 Scenic Highway LLC, who's the applicant and property owner, requesting a special use permit for a restaurant with a drive-through and variance to increase the 10 feet maximum front yard building setback to a plus or minus 35 feet for a Dairy Queen Grill and Chill restaurant with a drive-through on a 1.17 acre plus or minus acre parcel, Zone BG General Business District, and located in the Town Center Overlay District at 2340 Scenic Highway, Snellville, Georgia, and that's tax parcel 5026316. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, you have a SUP 22-05, and the reason for a special use permit for the Dairy Queen here is in recently adopted a town center overlay that put additional restrictions on restaurants with drive-throughs and allowed the mayor and council in the city to take a look at where they would fit in best within the town center, where there is options to have one, and then some of the more dense stuff is probably not good, but it's a larger area and it's different in different parts, so we get to take a look at each one of these. So they all have also requested a variance for that front drive to be able to be there. They needed to push the building back more than 10 feet, so that's where you got that 35 feet from. Another additional variance there on the bottom, and that's, if you look kind of south there, you'll see Pet Paradise is actually the owner there now. That's been developed. You have the access road that goes through to the storage in Dr. Carlin's office. But the reason they requested a variance there is because even though it's an access drive, the code doesn't differentiate. So we considered it a street. So in the town center, you're not allowed to have any parking between the building and the street. And that's important in an area that's densely built, and in our opinion, not so much in this case where there's already an access road. It's an access road. 124 is the major road. There's no parking between the building and the street there, so we went ahead and recommend approval for that variance. We also recommended approval for the variance in the front to just push the building back a little bit more so they can get that access drive out of there. They will have interparcel access on that access point. There is a creek buffer, but they've stayed out of that. So they did agree to comply 100% with all the other town center regulations, including the two-story look, the 24 feet, and all the building materials that are required. And I think this is just an elevation of what it's going to look like. It's mostly brick. Pretty tastefully designed as I've ever, I haven't seen many Dairy Queens nicer than that. Should be good. Again, here for the drive-through and the variances and approval for those. We recommend approval with the conditions that we've stated, pretty standard, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of council for Mr. Thompson?
Yes, Mr. Thompson, could you put up the site plan again, please? Thank you. Could you show us where the interparcel access is planned on this, that is required?
You mean to the north?
Yes.
There isn't one because of the grade and the existing parking lot. So I think this is the office complex. We can have them stub it here.
Right, so.
We can require a stub.
Right, but that stub would be along the roadway, which if the property next door were ever to redevelop, we would have interparcel access in a way.
It's a requirement of the ordinance too, unless grade challenges. So during site development, they'd have to have that to the north anyways.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about having a parallel street to our street, our main thoroughfare in the town center. Okay, I just wasn't sure if I was missing it or not.
If you don't want it there, you can relieve them of that access point.
No, I think interparcel access is absolutely critical to the.
Just not a road, secondary.
Well, to a strong and vibrant town center, and I just, with this site plan, I don't see that. Thanks.
Anyone else of council with a question for Mr. Thompson? No? Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is the applicant present?
Hello. My name is James Wilkerson. I am the architect of record for this site, representing the owner and the Dairy Queen franchisee.
Thank you, sir. Anything you'd like to present or talk about on your project?
We're aware of the grade difference in the inner parcel access, and we've looked at trying to raise that part of the site, but it is so great that it would stand the building up incredibly higher. And so the idea was that we could stub out there. I think that was the intention. And then should their neighbors to the north change hands or talk with them, that because they have only a portion of their overall parking is on that side, and that perhaps could be regraded down, that would be acceptable to get cars in and off the site.
Okay. Does anyone of council have any questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
You have 1358 remaining.
This is a public hearing, so I will open the floor to public comment. If anyone would like to speak either for or against this development, please step forward and provide your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing portion of the hearing and move to a motion.
Motion to deny SUP 22-05.
Second.
There is a motion to deny the SUP 22-05 with a second by Mr. Warner. Mr. Wilkerson, we do have a motion to deny on the table. Before we move to a vote, we typically ask if you would like to have us go forward with the vote or if you would like to withdraw your application.
I wish I could speak better to that without the benefit of having the actual owner or franchisee who's on vacation with his wife. Is it able to ask why things are denied? Is that possible at this time?
No, sir.
Oh, okay.
I can't give you any legal advice. What I can tell you is the opportunity, if there is a vote to deny your application, you would be precluded from applying for another rezoning for a minimum of 6 months under state law. If you wanted to withdraw your application, although you would need to reapply, you would not have that same limitation placed upon the property.
I understand. So it's if we decide to stay with it 6 months, or if not, we do it now. It sounds like I should withdraw.
Is that what are you asking to withdraw?
That is what I am asking.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. So we do have a request by the applicant to withdraw the SUP 22-05. Ms. Linsky, are you willing to change your motion to accept that withdrawal?
Yes, motion to accept the applicant's withdrawal for SUP 22-05.
And Mr. Warner, on your second?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have a motion and a second to allow the applicant to withdraw their SUP 22-05. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. Thank you.
Very good.
Now we have item E, second reading RZ 22-09, SUP 22-06. Consideration and action on applications by Park Place Snellville LLC, applicant and property owner, requesting to amend the official zoning map for the city of Snellville, Georgia, from BG General Business District to HSB Highway Service Business District, and request for a special use permit for a 3-story, 100,149 square foot climate-controlled self-storage facility on a 1.82 plus or minus acre site located in the Park Place Commercial Retail Development at 1915 Fars Road, Snellville, Georgia, tax parcel 5056362. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, we'll have a rezoning in an SUP. A special use permit is required for any kind of indoor or multi-story self-storage facility. The applicant today, Park Place Snellville, is bringing forward a 3-story, 100,000 roughly square foot climate-controlled self-storage building adjacent to the Hampton Inn. You got Outback in front of them, the Cracker Barrel. It's over there in Park Place, where there were originally 9 out parcels, and I believe only 2 parcels remain for development are in the interior of the development. Again, they've asked to change the zoning to HSB, which is required for that use. We changed that back from BG to HSB in the last UDO, so we can consider it an intensive use. What we've seen most of the time from these higher end self-storage is initially there's a little bit of traffic in and out, but if you guys have been down Lenore Church Road lately or Henry Clower there and looked at the old storage, it's a ghost town now. Once they're full, very little to no traffic. It doesn't pose, in our opinion, any more adverse events than a retail store would as far as traffic, security. There's only, I think, 1 or 2 employees. So once it's built and completed, it complements a lot of the uses there. We feel, especially with the architecture, it's a 3-story building, so it doesn't look out of place. These are just some renderings next to the Hampton. That's the back side where it would connect to Home Depot. As we were discussing earlier, we removed the requirement for a sidewalk there and can go in on the other side. If there's anything there really pedestrian worthy outside of the Home Depot there. Most of that parcel is accessed through cars, and that access has been really good for the city. We want to continue to use that. That's a little view of the front. Again, it meets the intent of a commercial retail district. I know part of that character says in close proximity to a state highway. We believe that that's been achieved here at 124. It's literally a block away, has direct access to 124 with a light, and fits in use standards to everything this area. I would argue that it's way less intensive than a hotel or any other retail, even a restaurant. It's just very few trips, and the new traffic counts for that use, they verify that on a national level. So with all those facts in mind, make sure I didn't miss anything, and there were no variance requests, we recommend approval with their conditions as stated. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Thompson by council?
Mr. Thompson, have you done any kind of a survey of the already existing self-storage?
The capacity?
I'm interested in what capacity they are at this point.
The last time I talked to the owners of before it termed, the ones that own Lenore or Henry Clower changed ownership. At that point, they were at 91%. And I understand, last time we talked to, who else do we have over in the old bowling? I can't remember what their names are, but they were in the 90s too. So in this day and age, people don't really have anywhere to put their stuff, so they just throw them in there and leave it there. That's usually what happens. But they are in the 90s. That's been a little while. I haven't recently. I'm sure they have some data. The applicant does. I don't.
Any other council members with questions for Mr.
In the work
Thompson?
session, there was some question about a site plan. Do we have a site plan?
I think, and I think we have enough to hold them down, to keep their feet to the fire if you choose to approve. I think, I'll let them speak. I don't know all the plans. I think this is close, that we can hold them to that. It's just not been fully engineered. It's a concept plan. It meets the requirements of a concept plan.
So on this plan, that the side drive, the interparcel connection, is it going to be smaller? Is it going to be narrower?
No, it won't. It'll be the same width. You just can't, it doesn't, these renderings, let me find the right one.
Well, and we don't tie things to a rendering.
These are actually in the record.
They are?
Yeah, and 20, it's the same width as the access drive. There, I'll let them speak to that. That's
Okay.
all I've got. It shows it on the site plan. I think that's just a little overlap on that border, but it doesn't make any sense to, make it even smaller.
Okay, and then I had another question for you, but let me find it.
And it just kind of helps, you can see where the existing landscape islands, where the actual property limits go into there, so the width, 24 feet from here to here, all the way down.
There was a recommendation for conditions that the staff put out, but then one of the conditions had been removed by the
Yeah,
planning
that was
commission.
the
Can you-
original request to locate a sidewalk here and push everything back. And then after listening to the applicant's response, and the planning commission felt like that if there was ever a need for a sidewalk there, it could be implemented on the other side.
Okay.
And really just the necessity of a sidewalk in the middle of that parking lot back to get to Home Depot.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I don't know if it's appropriate, but I was out on the site today with some of these same questions. And on the drawing where it shows the inner parcel access to the adjacent property, no, leave it there, Jason, put it back. Yep, there. That drive is actually 20 feet wide, and traffic flows through that intersection. So it's just the section currently that is the parking lot of large trucks, that the pavement is 24 feet wide. So the roadway actually need only be because it's an inner parcel, the 20 seemed adequate, so that would give a little bit of space there. So hopefully we wouldn't be dragging mirrors along the side of the building.
Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Thompson? Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Is the applicant present?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. My name's Jack Wilson. My office address is 295 South Culver Street in Lawrenceville. I represent the applicant, DeThomas and Swope, and both of Mrs. DeThomas and Swope are here tonight. They are the developers of Park Place. They are the gentlemen who brought this development out of the ground in 2015. City rezoned it at that time. They have developed several parcels, as you heard from staff, in and around this area. The application tonight is for a self-contained indoor self-storage facility. The reason we've landed on this use is that we have marketed this property without success since 2015. It's been Zone BG all that time. We've marketed it and had some what I would characterize as slight interest, but no contracts, no firm offers. We had hoped originally that this would be a restaurant site, but COVID sort of changed the restaurant marketing industry so that this, what we would call a second row site, which doesn't have direct frontage on the highway or a major road, it's kind of set back, looking at the back of Outback and Cracker Barrel, has just come to be a non-starter really for restaurant purchasers. At least that's been the applicant's experience. So because we haven't found any other viable use, the applicants proposed this use that they would develop themselves. Staff, Jason mentioned we've had some issues with illegal parking on the site. The site was graded and improved at the same time as all the other lots in 2015. We've posted signs. We've tried to give notice as best we can, but these are all trespassers who are parking there without permission. And we've tried to cooperate with the police to the extent we can to address those issues. We think development of the site and improvement of it will obviously eliminate this. I think there's another important advantage to this type of use that warrants consideration, and that is the aid that this type of use is to your code enforcement and your property maintenance within the city, giving citizens a place to store things that we accumulate and want to hold on to and not get rid of is very beneficial. If I can rent a space to put my stuff so that I don't have to keep it in my backyard or build a storage shed or keep it in my carport or close in my garage and park my cars, on the driveway instead of the garage, if I can put my things in a place like this and leave the rest of my property in the way that it was intended to be used, I think that's a tremendous benefit both to me and to my neighbors and to the community at large. So this is the kind of use that will hopefully improve your neighborhoods. I mentioned this property is Zone BG. Right now, there are some limitations on the uses that can be made by virtue of your previous zonings, but there are still a number of relatively intense BG uses which could be made of this property immediately as a matter of right that we would submit are a lot less desirable than what we propose. For example, and this is from your BG ordinance, a daycare, an amusement center, a billiard hall, skateboarding, extreme sports, inflatables, a convenience store, auto parts. Those are all BG uses as a matter of right. Now, we don't want to do any of those things, and we really would rather not see anybody do any of those things in relationship to the other properties that are there. But if you rezone this and approve the special use permit, all of those uses like that, which are more intense, less desirable, would create more traffic, all of those types of uses would be eliminated if you approve this tonight as presented. I wanted to just say a word about the elevations. We submitted those just to give you some different views of what the exterior of the building would look like. Those aren't survey specific, they're not engineered, they're just illustrative to kind of give you a feel of what the building would look like in relationship to other properties surrounding. I do want to say a couple of words to try to address some of the questions as I understand them. This east-west driveway that connects the tree lane extension, I think it's called, with the Home Depot parking lot on the left, that's going to remain. That's going to remain undisturbed. That's going to remain intact. We're not taking it out. We're not doing anything to impair that access. It's going to continue. I think you know, the tree lane extension is a private drive. It's not a city street. This access area east-west is also a private drive. All of the Park Place owners contribute to a property owners association that's responsible for maintaining all of those streets and other infrastructure in the subdivision. We did back this building up all the way to the landscape buffer area here for a couple of reasons. One, this area where I'm pointing on Home Depot's property is their outdoor storage display area. So you got, and I don't mean to be critical, but you just got a wide variety and amalgam of cupolas and gondolas and storage buildings and whatever else they store there. That's our building's gonna back up to that, and I think that's appropriate. And that's why we showed the elevation with the back of the building just to show you what it would look like relative to all of those uses at Home Depot. This is not a fire lane, and we are not building on a fire lane. We're not impairing any fire lane. We're not affecting any fire lanes or any fire access to the hotel. My clients still own the hotel. Obviously, they don't want to do anything on this site to impair the hotel or diminish it. There is complete 360 circular access around the hotel for fire, in part for fire purposes. We're not affecting that. We're not changing that. We're not diminishing that in any way. This building is going to be required to be sprinklered for obvious reasons, and that fire suppression system we believe will will be adequate and will meet, obviously, meet the fire marshal requirements. There was a question about where we expect to load, and we haven't identified a spot with precision, but generally it's going to be either here or here, just by virtue of the layout in the front of the building, but that will be the load in and load out area. And we do have a landscape decorative wall that we propose along the front that'll provide some limited screening for that front part of the property. The applicant is in agreement with all of the proposed conditions from the Planning Commission. We had good dialogue at the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval. They did delete the condition for the sidewalk, as you heard about earlier. We just didn't see much logic to that. I think it's highly unlikely anybody's going to walk from Cracker Barrel or Outback to our site or to Home Depot. I think that driveway is going to get a lot of use, as it already does, but the sidewalk in that location really didn't make a lot of sense. There is sidewalk along the frontage. I would say, going back to what I said before about other BG uses, your proposed condition number 2 limits this property to being used as a climate-controlled storage. That condition number 2 would not permit any other use without modification of that condition. So anybody who didn't want to do self-storage, I don't know who that would be, because my clients are here, they own the property, they're going to do this if you approve it. But if at some point some catastrophe happened and that didn't go forward, to do anything else, that applicant or property owner is going to have to come right back here and get approval of that changing condition. So we appreciate the staff's analysis and recommendation of approval. We appreciate the Planning Commission's unanimous recommendation of approval and would request your approval also. And I'd ask to reserve the balance of my time for rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Are there any questions of Mr. Wilson by the council?
I have a question of Mr. Wilson. Would it be acceptable to your client if condition number 2, which currently says the property shall be developed in general accordance with the rezoning plan or site plan entitled property blah, 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 Snellville, Georgia, dated 9/12 and stamped, if we included language in there that said including the design renderings as supplied by the applicant in the submittals, so the building would have to be built in accordance with the rough design that has been submitted to the, I mean, we understand there have to be changes, but the overall look, feel, and materials need to be.
Yes, sir. That's what we intend.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions of Mr. Wilson by the council?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
You have 5 minutes and 16 seconds remaining for rebuttal.
This is a public hearing, so I will now open the floor to public comment. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this application, please step forward and provide your name and address for the record.
Before the, my name is Gay Bruce, 1710 Woodbury Run Drive. Madam Mayor, before the clock begins on my time for public comments, I would like to bring to your attention an apparent error in the rezoning application for RZ 2209 and SUP 2206 at 1915 Forest Road in Snellville. It appears that the conflict of interest certifications for rezoning applications form included in the rezoning application in this case is incorrect. As shown, the applicant attests a contribution in the amount of $300 was made in 2021 to Councilman Warner's reelection campaign. However, when compared to the same form included in the November 1st, 2021 application amendment for Annex 2102 LUP 2105 RZ 2105 for the property at 1498 Scenic Highway, the applicant stated an actual campaign contribution of $600 on October 13th, 2021, which council voted to approve on November 8th, 2021. Whether the dollar amount shown on the conflict of interest certifications for rezoning applications form included in the rezoning application for RZ 22-09 and SUP 2206 for contributions made to Councilman Warner is incorrect or not, because of that contribution, I request that Councilman Warner recuse himself from the remainder of all proceedings for rezoning case RZ 2209 and SUP 2206 before you tonight.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Ms. Bruce, but the, because of a campaign donation, Mr. Warner does not have to recuse himself. So if you would like to go on with your comment.
Thank you. As stated, my name is Gay Bruce. I live at 1710 Woodbury Run Drive in the city of Snellville. I'm here tonight to request that you deny the rezoning and special use applications for 1915 Forest Road in Snellville. Many years ago, I had a coworker who frequently vented to us coworkers that his newspaper advertising customers wanted to cram 20 pounds in a 3-pound sack, as they had more ad copy and pictures than their preferred ad space would permit. I mention that to say this. It appears the rezoning and special use permit applications presented to you tonight are the applicant's attempt to cram 20 pounds into a 3-pound sack for the following reasons. 1, the applicant is requesting a zoning change to the Highway Service Business District when all the other buildings in the Park Place development and surrounding businesses are zoned BG General Business. If approved, this parcel would be the sole lot in this zoning classification for all surrounding businesses and could have negative ramifications in future rezoning cases. 2, as proposed, this 3-story self-storage building is too large to fit onto this lot and meet city-mandated requirements for the sidewalk and the planter strip. The applicant is requesting that you vote to drop city's mandated parameters to include a 6-foot sidewalk and 2-foot wide planter strip along the interconnective lane from Forest Road, also known as Tree Lane Extension, to the Presidential Market Shopping Center, when all the other buildings in the Park Place development and surrounding businesses meet this requirement. As members of the City Council, you obviously understand the importance of pedestrian safety, as you have committed using taxpayer funds to build sidewalks next year in older developed parts of the city. Removal of this condition would put pedestrians at peril, as they would be forced to walk on the pavement of the interconnective lane to avoid a slope shoulder that contains fire ant mounds and other hazards. I myself have a life-threatening allergy to fire ants, as do others who may walk this route. It appears the applicant is requesting the city drop these mandates so the building would fit on the lot. 3, the applicant is requesting you approve a concept of a 3-story self-storage building and not specific building plans, as what is being presented to you tonight is only an artist's rendering of an exterior building which does not show specifics regarding the location of the loading dock area. Also, the definite entrance and exit curb cuts on the interconnective lane are not shown, nor the relation to the location of these curb cuts with the intersection of that lane with Forest Road or Tree Lane Extension. In summary, the proposed rezoning and special use permits are not a good fit for this lot. The zoning for the proposed storage building does not fit with the zoning of all the other lots in the Park Place development and surrounding businesses, and the proposed building is too large to fit on the lot to include the city-mandated sidewalk and planter strip. Eliminating these would put pedestrians in peril. In addition, the applicant has only provided a concept of the proposed building's exterior with no specifics regarding the location of curb cuts. For these reasons, I request that you deny these rezoning and special use permit applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bruce. Anyone else?
There's 9 minutes and 11 seconds remaining.
Kurt Schultz, 2027 Tanglewood Drive. I cannot see much downside on this application. I was surprised at the study that Jason presented about the 90% plus of capacity of other storage facilities in the city. I kind of suspected that, but you never see any traffic around them to indicate that they are so full. And that is another number 2 on the list, that there will basically be no traffic around here once these units are filled. Again, so many times we hear about overcrowding of schools. This will have absolutely no impact on schools. The BG businesses, that could come in there, without any council approval, could be really devastating to the aesthetics of the city and the surrounding properties. And the only thing I would like to say that, possibly the mayor and council have final approval on the aesthetics of the final design of the buildings, so we make sure that they are similar to what has been proposed. I'm totally in favor of this. I think it's a good fit for the property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Anyone else? Seeing none, then I will close the floor for public comment. Oh, Mr. Wilson.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
No,
I don't think I'll use all my 5 minutes. Just briefly, I apologize. I don't understand the discrepancy in the dollar amounts listed on the disclosures. There was a campaign contribution. It was disclosed. If we got the dollar amount incorrect, I apologize. But I don't think that has any legal effect or any technical effect on moving forward tonight, or on the validity of the application. If this application is denied, you will have a more intense, less desirable commercial use at this location, possibly as a matter of right, without having to come back for any kind of approvals at all. We submit respectfully that this application and this use is far superior to several of those others. As you heard, there is less traffic. Our studies indicate about 10 to 12 vehicle trips per day. Compare that to a restaurant, if you could get one there, any kind of retail use where you're going to have a lot more trips than that. The value of what the applicants propose to build, we estimate to be $13 million. With that concomitant contribution to your tax base and your tax rolls, without a significant demand for service, without any impact on the schools at all, that's a very significant improvement and literally value added for the city. On the HSB's classification, I wanted just to address that briefly. As I understand it, the city added that requirement within the last 2 years for self-storage facilities because of the nature of the use, and added the special use permit component just to allow the process that we're here on tonight, for more public scrutiny and more dialogue and more comment and more analysis of uses like this. And we certainly understand that and understand why you did it. At the Planning Commission, there was an argument advanced that because this property didn't front Highway 24 or a state highway, HSB wasn't appropriate. And I don't think that argument is correct. That's not what your ordinance says. Your ordinance says HSB is appropriate for properties situated in relationship to a state highway. We're one block off. That's certainly in relationship to the state highway. The city has approved HSB zonings in other locations like ours that aren't directly fronting on a highway. At Presidential and Medical Way, behind the Presidential Center, there's a medical office that's zoned HSB, and the parcel next door is also zoned HSB. On Ronald Reagan, not at the intersection, but just off where the other self-storage facility is, that property is zoned HSB, so there's precedent in other places in the city for HSB zoning in similar circumstances. And we understand, we think, why you added that requirement for HSB in a special use permit, and we're glad to be here and participate in that process. If you have any questions or reservations or issues, we'd be fine if this case was tabled. If you need more information, we're happy to provide it. We've done a study of vacancies, and they show in that 90% range, which tells us there's demand for this type of use and it's economically viable and warranted. We're happy to share that information with you. You know the applicants, they're here, they'll be here, they're not going anywhere. So if there's a need to have more dialogue about this, we're happy to do it. Subject to that, we'd respectfully request your approval with the Planning Commission recommended conditions.
58 seconds. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. With that, is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I would make the motion that we approve RZ 22-09, and can I do them together, Chuck? Separate. Mm-hmm. RZ 22-09. Now I have to figure out which conditions are tied to that. Well, I'll just say with the conditions as put forth coming out of the Planning Commission and the Department of Planning and Development, with the small change to condition number 2 to change it to the property shall be developed in general accordance with the rezoning site plan entitled Proposed Storage Climate Controlled Snellville, Georgia, dated 9/12/2022, stamped received 9/13/2022, including the design renderings shown or as supplied in the applicant's submittals, and then the rest of the verbiage, which is with modifications permitted to meet conditions of zoning, state, county, and city regulations. Substantial variation from the conceptual rezoning site plan as determined by the Director of Planning and Development will require Mayor and Council approval after receiving recommendations by the Planning Department and Planning Commission. That, I hope that's clear, is my motion.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second for RZ 09 or 22-09. Any discussion by the council?
I would like to point out that the service drive that runs between Cracker Barrel and the proposed development that leads to the Home Depot Kroger shopping center is an interparcel connectivity device. It is not a public street, and therefore the planter strip and sidewalk being deleted is not necessarily much of an issue, which I believe is why the Planning Commission did that. And that's it.
Any other council members?
Yeah, I think I'd just like to point out that this drive is going to connect to the existing drive, which I believe does not have a sidewalk. So even if this had a sidewalk, once you got to a certain point, you'd be back in the street, which again, nobody's going to walk. So I think the sidewalk issue is irrelevant.
Anyone else? With that, I will call the vote for RZ 22-09. All in favor, please raise your hands. That is 5 in favor. Any opposed? 1 opposed. The rezoning passes. So I will entertain a motion for the SUP 22-06.
Motion to approve SUP 22-06.
There's a motion to approve the SUP. Is there a second?
Second.
Oop, I heard Christie come out of the box just a second before you, Gretchen. So the SUP, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. All right, we're done with that item. We will move to item F, first reading SUP 22-07. Consideration and action on application by Brian Vu, ABN Investment Group LLC, the property owner, requesting a special use permit for a drive-through restaurant at the former Crystal Restaurant location on this .775 plus or minus acre property zoned BG, General Business District, and located in the Town Center Overlay District, 2484 East Main Street, Snellville, Georgia, tax parcel 5026240. This is a first reading, so we will not have any public hearing on this item tonight. Is there a motion?
Motion to waive first reading on SUP 22-07 and place it on the agenda for a second reading. Are we going to have a meeting on the 28th?
It would be December 12th. December 12th will be the next meeting.
Oh, that's right, okay. And put it on the agenda for the December 12th meeting for a second read.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a firm second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. We have nothing under the consent agenda, no old business, so we'll move to new business. We have item A, consideration and action on award of the bid for the park maintenance building. Mr. Sanders.
Madam Mayor, when we started looking at this project, we really thought we would be able to bid it out in one simple step. Construction of the building and all of the site work like we do a lot of projects. Then we came upon the possibility of buying the building, which will be a metal building, separately, really at a bargain price. And Champion Building would not only manufacture, they'd erect the building. So we started looking at how could we do the whole project, since that's such a good price, how could we do it cheaper without doing it all in one step? So we came up with 3 different steps, and what the staff is asking tonight is that you approve a contract with Diversified Products, the low bidder, on the build-out of the building and all of the site work that makes the maintenance facility whole. And so the number we're asking for tonight is $1,569,918 to prepare the site for the metal building to be brought in and erected, and then Diversified would also build out the interior, including a very badly needed mezzanine for storage of materials and equipment. So that's what the council is asking for tonight. This is a building that probably will be potentially completed in the middle of next year, and the recreation staff can move out of their less than ideal facility that they're in now. So that's the best description I can give you of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Is there a motion?
Motion to award the bid for the park maintenance building to Diversified Construction of Georgia in the amount of $1,569,918.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second, and with the motion on the table, I would just like to also point out that over the years, we've been making improvements at Briscoe Park. Phase 1 was done. It was the passive section where the lake is. Phase 2 was done in 2 phases, with a multipurpose field, and then the softball fields, a new concession stand and parking areas were redone in that Phase 2. Phase 3 of the master plan at the park is the rest of the park, from those new softball fields over to Marigold Drive where the recycling center is. And as we were master planning, we were updating our plan for Phase 3 to include a new community center, gyms, outdoor basketball courts and things like that. The park maintenance facility is right there in the middle of all of that. And that park maintenance facility is the old Public Works building. And there was a reason that Public Works moved out of that building 10 years ago. And so the park has been just storing their materials in there. And we were at the point where we were going to have to dump about $100,000 just to get those buildings weatherworthy to protect the equipment that the park has, or go ahead and get the new maintenance facility done. So this is actually step 1 of Phase 3 of the Briscoe Park Master Plan. So I'm excited about that, because once we move, the new building's going to be situated further in the back of the park, not in the center. So we won't have chain link fence with barbed wire going around the top, right in the center of the park where everybody sees it all the time. And we'll be able to get rid of that atrocious building there in the middle as well. So be a huge improvement at the park, so I'm really excited about this. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. And then we have one more item, item B. It's a first reading on ordinance 22-23. It's hard getting all these numbers together. Consideration and action on an ordinance to amend the code of the city of Snellville, Georgia, to provide for regulation of street racing and reckless driving exhibitions. Just by way of explanation, this is a first reading because it is a change to our ordinances that require 2 readings. What this ordinance will do we are adopting what Gwinnett County and also Grayson and several other cities have adopted. So new rules for street racing, which has become a huge issue all across the metro Atlanta area. And not only, we've added a little bit more since we have a ex-prosecutor here as our city attorney. We've added a few more definitions and a few more items that weren't really discussed in the ordinance that Gwinnett County did. And so it gives us a little more leeway to help stop some of these exhibitions that are going on private property where the other ordinance would not have covered that exactly. So with that explanation, is there a motion? We need a motion to waive.
Motion to waive the first reading of ordinance 2022-23 and place it on the agenda of the December 12th meeting for a second reading and public hearing.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. So that ends our business portion of the meeting. So we'll move to council reports, and we'll start with Councilmember Solange DeStang.
Hello, everyone. I hope that you all had an awesome Thanksgiving. Usually my council reports are a little short, but this one is going to be a little long. I'm going to try to use some of my time and not go over it. So on November 17th, I attended a business after hours at the Tumbling Apartments. We got a tour of the 1 and 2 bedroom apartments that they have, and let me tell you that they are awesome. It was my understanding at that time that there were 60 people that signed up, and tonight I learned that there are 80 people that are ready to move in, so that is awesome. We're doing good things here, and again, the apartments are situated just perfect. And I just wanted to bring that out there for you guys. Also, This past Saturday, Experience Snellville, which we know is formerly STAT, put on an awesome Christmas tree lighting. There were a lot of people in attendance. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the Christmas parade due to the unpredictable November weather. Hopefully, we can have one next year. And my family came out. They always enjoy all the activities and festivities in Snellville. They actually call it a Snellville party. They're always asking me, when is our next Snellville party? They really, really, truly enjoy it. So kudos to Kelly McAloon and STAT for putting this on. I know it wasn't easy because of the unpredictable weather, but you pulled it off. Let me also add that the Family Gwinnett is organizing, and I'm hosting, a first Snellville Small Business Town Hall. This event allows citizens to meet businesses in our city. You can learn about government purchasing and available funding. There will also be a panel discussion on insurance coverage, funding, purchasing, and the filming industry will also be here. The date for the town hall will be on Friday, January 13th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Location will be right here at City Hall. You can find all this information on Eventbrite. Look for Snellville Small Business Town Hall. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to email me at estherstang@snellville.org, and everybody is invited. The whole city of Snellville is invited. So I hope I see everyone there. The date. Oh, it's going to be Friday, January 13th, from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Okay, last but not least, please don't forget that I'm also hosting a Christmas toy giveaway. I have reached out to a local nonprofit organization, and it has agreed to service 5 families with toys for the children. And I mentioned this at the previous council meeting, so if you know any family that is in need, please, please, please let me know, or have them email me at estherstang@snellville.org. So I told you my council report was a little lengthy tonight, but I got through it. And I want to wish you all a good night, get home safe, and stay blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, Solange. Councilmember Warner?
Well, we all know this last Thursday was Thanksgiving, and I, along with, I'm sure, many other people, had to put another hole in my belt in order to make up for everything I ate. But the Thursday before that, the mayor and I, and a member of our Downtown Development Authority, had the opportunity to go with Partnership Gwinnett to visit Greenville, South Carolina. And we were looking at best practices that they have had as far as redevelopment and spurring redevelopment in their downtown area. When I was growing up, and even today, until a week ago last Thursday, Greenville was one of those places you drove by on the way to where you were going. Let me tell you, if that is your opinion, it is absolutely worth a stop. They have some amazing things going on there. I know it gets old hearing that I learned something new every time I went on one. But really, seeing the way different cities have handled their redevelopment and how they have solved some of the problems that all cities have is invaluable. And I know it was great to be able to spend 2 hours riding in the car with the mayor, because now I got all the dirt on. No, we were able to share a lot of thoughts about things going on in the city and redevelopment opportunities going forward. So it was invaluable. We both had to give up 2 days' work in order to do that, because, as you may not know, we are actually part-time employees for all of y'all. But absolutely loved it. I wouldn't have changed a thing other than maybe a little warmer and a little better lunches. But anyway, thank you very much for coming out. Hopefully we'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Todd. Councilmember Linsky?
Right. Good evening, everyone. We had some difficult decisions to make tonight in terms of the rezoning. One in particular, the applicant proposed a Dairy Queen for the Town Center Overlay District. Town Center Overlay District, something that we have all been carefully considering for years. And I'm really glad that we stayed focused on our goal and our vision for what we believe the town center of Snellville should be. I constantly read and hear from citizens that although they like the convenience of fast food restaurants and drive-through restaurants, that is unfortunately what we have become known for along the 124 corridor, in addition to the 78, Highway 78. I do like Dairy Queen, but we don't necessarily want that to be the feature of our town center overlay district. That was an important vote tonight for sustainability in the future of the city. Thank you all for coming out tonight. And Kelly, marvelous job in managing the weather, the parade, all of the different links that go in. The work could not have been easy. It was a wonderful time on Saturday. The sense of community and unity was very special. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Councilmember Schultz.
Yes, my kudos to Kelly, too. That was just an awesome event, Kelly. It really was tremendous. I was out doing some Christmas shopping today, and some of you would have laughed if you could have seen me trying to cram this huge box into the front seat of my little car. I struggled, and finally I wedged it in and then had to slam the door really quickly. But it made me think about, many of us are out Christmas shopping now, and I know many families are struggling a little bit with the economy as it is now. And I brought something to show you because I guess I just wanted to stress that sometimes gifts don't have to be, expensive to be meaningful. And I brought you a couple that I wanted to share just to show you what I mean. This was made by my 6-year-old granddaughter, and it stays on my kitchen windowsill all the time. And so, that didn't cost a lot of money, but it's something that stays on my kitchen windowsill. The other thing that is on my kitchen windowsill, and you would probably chuckle if you saw this, it's this little pottery dish. And it was made by our oldest grandson when he was in preschool, and he's 18 years old now. And on the top, he wrote his name. It says Eli, and the top doesn't fit, of course, but that sits on my kitchen windowsill all the time. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you is this baseball, and our middle grandson Addison, he's 16 now and playing on the varsity baseball team at his high school. This ball he gave me, it was his fourth home run over the fence home run that he hit at Harbin's Park. He kept his first one. The second and third went to his mom and dad, and he very proudly gave me this one, and he wrote his name on it. It says Addison, fourth homer, June 5th, 2018. And so I just wanted you to know that you don't have to spend a lot of money to give a very, very meaningful gift. So I just wanted to share that. One other thing I wanted to share with you is something happening tomorrow, starting at 4 o'clock at the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op. They have an organization that meets there every week. It's called Piece of Thread. And it's an organization that of refugee women that they teach them how to sew, and these women make some really beautiful handbags and wallets. I learned about this organization at a Live on the Lawn concert. There was a woman there with a friend of mine, and I noticed she was carrying this really pretty purse. And I said to her, "I love your purse." And then she started telling me about this Piece of Thread organization. And these purses are made with a lot of very expensive designer fabrics. Her purse had this leather fringe on it. It was absolutely gorgeous. But anyway, tomorrow at the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op from 4 to 7, they're having their first annual Christmas market, and it will feature items made by this Piece of Thread group. Many of these are refugee women that have come from Ukraine. They came to this country with just the clothes on their back. Some of them came with their children, left their husbands behind, and this is a way that they are earning a little money now that they're here in this country. So I know I'm going to go because I'm anxious to see some of the purses that they have. So I just thought that I would mention that because I think it'll be fun to go. And other than that, thank you all for coming, and I hope you all, between now and our next meeting, have a very blessed holiday season. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Gretchen. Mayor Pro Tem Emanuel.
I hope everyone had a very good Thanksgiving, and the only question I have for Kelly is, did it pop? I bet it did too. As you can see, there are a number of Christmas trees out in the lobby, and you vote for the favorite Christmas tree by taking some food and putting it by the tree, and all that food goes to the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op. This year is probably a lot more difficult than previous years for a lot of families, so I would encourage you to vote for any tree you like, and probably a few of them more than once. There's also a donation box out by the receptionist desk. If you don't have food and you have money, you can make a donation there. But Southeast Gwinnett Co-op does an outstanding job year-round, and we always get more aware of the situation of people having hardships around this time of year. But those hardships, unfortunately, last 12 months for a lot of people. And the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op is always there, and everything they do is for local people. So it's really a great organization to support, because everything goes back to the people in the area. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people in this area that need that help. And they do more than food. If you know somebody who's got some issues with financial aspects or anything else, they have a lot of programs besides just handling people and their food needs. So always keep them in mind. You can always refer people there. If they can't help them, they'll find somebody who can. And I hope everybody has a good lead up to Christmas, and keep your expenditures local, because we need the business.
Thank you, Dave. And just a couple of items in my report tonight. One, a thank you to Kelly and all the volunteers. I know there's a few here in the room for the tree lighting. Magnificent. So many smiles, so many grateful hearts of people being out. I went around taking pictures, and there were just tons of really, really excited kids and people very excited about the event. So thank you for pulling it off in spite of this unpredictable weather that we have. And I was going to mention also the Peer Redevelopment Tour, sponsored by Partnership Gwinnett. They do this every year to a different city, and it's usually about 2 days, someplace drivable. And I guess there were about 40 elected leaders, DDA members, city officials, some city managers that were on with the group. So it was a great time too to network and share with other of our local Gwinnett leaders. But we really did pick up some good thoughts, good ideas of things that Greenville's doing and things not to do. We talked about some of the things that they didn't do well or things that they would have changed. And it's just really interesting to hear the backstory on how some of these developments and redevelopments, what had occurred and how things have come back around. Just really fascinating how they're honoring a promise that was made 70 years ago to the Black community. There was a park, and there was a white park, and next to it was the Black park. And at some point or another, part of the Black park got taken to do something. I can't remember what they did with part of it. And the other part of it was promised to be a baseball field for the Black community. And that promise was made, it was like 70 or 80 years ago, 1938. There you go, 1938, that promise was made. And the city is about to fulfill that commitment. And they have redone the park, and they've joined the two parks, and now they're calling it Unity Park. And some of the playground was phenomenal that they put in for the kids. And
they would not let the mayor off the bus.
But it was, but understanding the backstory behind these redevelopment projects, I think is really interesting. And, we have some of those stories here too with some of the projects that have happened. I also wanted to just real quick, right before the work session, I swore in a new police officer, which we do quite frequently. His name was Meet Mehta, and it turns out he was a Grayson High School graduate, and he lives right here in Grayson, and he has stayed in Gwinnett and is coming to work for our Snellville Police Department. So he was in a member of our Police Explorers group. So he's gone full circle, and he's come back to work here as a police officer. So I thought that was really exciting. And then did just want to mention, we did do the moment of silence at the beginning of the meeting for Mr. Wayne Odom. He was the longest serving council member. He spanned 36 years of service from 1963 to 1999. So he gave a lot of time and effort to this city. And just want to send my condolences to his family on the loss of Mr. Odom. And with that, I will end my mayor's report, and we'll open the floor to public comment. Anyone who would like to make a comment may step forward and provide your name and address for the record. 5 minutes on one topic, please.
Gay Bruce, 1710 Woodbury Run Drive. The applicant for the storage building mentioned that there was illegal parking of tractor trailers on that lot currently. Well, apparently last night the lot was full, and they're parking in the Home Depot parking lot. And I wanted to know if the city has some kind of ordinance with the shopping center owner to enforce no parking of the overnight tractor trailers there.
We will let the police department know
Okay.
about that situation. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you.
Mike Sabak, 1600 Summit View Way, Snellville, Georgia. By the way, I want the name of that energy drink that Kelly has been drinking, because that was really a good event. Boy, I tell you what, I was watching her. She's all over the map. Great event. I enjoyed it. One comment, South Crest View Drive with that sharp curve. I know the sidewalk discussion came up today in the work session, which was great idea. And I just want to throw that, put a bug in your ears when the next grant or money or bill that shows up there, you guys move it up to the top, at least lower that mountain so I can see, those folks are coming around. And I think I'm so used to it now that I gotta have to slow down to about 2-3 miles an hour.
Mayor, can I tell them the good news?
What's that?
That the development that we approved about 6 months ago for the corner there of 78 and South Crestview is required to finish the sidewalk all the way from 78 down to connect to what's there.
Oh,
Would they be able to lower the hill down a little bit so I can see who's coming down at 500 miles an hour?
It looks like it.
Those are my suggestions. Thank you for all what you do. This is a pretty long meeting, and I know some of you are probably looking at the Monday Night Football. It's probably, have a good night.
thank you.
Tricia Rollins, 2088 Harbor Oaks Drive. Just a housekeeping note. I know it's come up before. When y'all speak, it's nice and loud and it comes out. Whenever somebody's here, we struggle back here to hear this from the podium. I've asked them to do stuff. They've offered me hearing aids. But if you watch the crowd back here, when somebody's speaking, they're struggling to hear. So if the speakers could be turned on back here in the back somehow. But I hope that doesn't count against me. But the park where we're placing the new building is on the field where homeschoolers play. It's open play. I hope there's consideration as to where we can put those kids to play. The fields are normally closed off. I know that several people have talked to Mr. Sanders about keeping the fields open that are league play. It's a hit or miss whether the gates are open. The family gets there to play on the fields and the gates are locked. So we're taking away their space over there for free play. My last comment, if I may, is just to congratulate Kelly. It was an awesome night, regardless of the parade, and that shows community, and the neighborhoods appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia.
My name is Deborah Jones, 1657 Ramblewood Way, and I live here in the city of Snellville. And I just wanted to say, this is a beautiful city. I'm so proud to be here. I'm proud to be a citizen. And when I am able, I take the advantage of volunteering and to see all the families. When you can bring your family out to an event and it's a safe environment, I mean, everyone is having a ball. I see so much unity here, and I just want to let everyone know, the mayor, city council, city manager, young lady here, the city clerk, all those that are involved in running this city, police department, you all are just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You're doing a great job, and we're proud to be a Snellville citizen. Thank you for all that you do. God bless.
Thank you.
Might as well say something too. Kelly McAloon, 2916 Overwood Lane, Snellville. The Christmas tree lighting, thank you all for those kind words and comments. It was a very challenging event to put together. From the rain, no rain, to people calling when we did cancel, that they were canceling. But then on Thursday, I got lots of calls and text messages that we weren't going to have rain, and, you know, can we reverse things? And there's just some things you can't reverse. The parade was one of them. However, I was very excited to be able to move everything that we planned to come in here to go back outside. But I couldn't do that with the help of Rob Langston, who we ordered the products, we canceled the products, they had them rented out to other people, got them here for us. Our balloon lady who ordered the product, canceled the product, and really made things happen that I wanted to happen out there as far as decorations, and our awesome, awesome volunteers, because I might lead the pack, but it takes the pack to make it happen. So we had to have a lot of hands on deck to make and pull that event off. But thousands of people were here, didn't hear one complaint, and all I did see was smiling faces and so many comments that people just truly had an experience here that they had a memory to take home. And that's why we do what we do. It's all about the experience and keeping that memory for life. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I will close the public comment and entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor? That is 6-0. We're out. 9:31.